In this video, I'll be going through 4 data providers that we personally use to help with building prospecting lists and reaching out to people at the right time. So this was actually off the back of a call I had today. That was a bit of inspiration for this video because they thought we were a software solution provider. Now, if you don't know who we are, my name's Alex. I'm the founder of INONDA. We've been going for just under 10 years helping companies with their go-to-market, building out relationship motions and the revenue infrastructure and intelligence that allows us to target the right accounts at the right time, build the right relationships and close deals quicker, faster, bigger. So with that out of the way, what I wanted to go through in this video is a deep dive into these signal and data enrichment providers. And I hate the videos where people just look at the website itself. This is an actual inside look. And I'm going to give you my personal take as someone who uses this and my team uses this on a day-to-day basis. Now, in some cases, I don't actually touch the interface here. A lot of what we do is either plugged into Clay, which is kind of like a data orchestration tool, or we're using Claude Code and connecting APIs to build out campaign lists and monitoring of specific things in the CRM, right? So what I wanted to go through first actually was findemail.com. So findemail.com has been a staple of ours. We've used it for a while now. It's a great tool because it's quite cost effective. We've got a ton of credits with them. Our first port of call for email enrichment and sometimes mobile data enrichment. So it covers both facets and we plug it into Clay and it's part of a waterfall sequence. What that means is basically we use multiple data providers, hence why I'm able to show you a few, to make sure that we surface as many contact information as possible so that when we reach out to people, we give as much opportunity for us to actually get in front of the right people and sales teams that we work with, right? So we use this plugged in. We don't look into this as a kind of like, hey, let's search it. And that's one of its actual weaknesses. I'll start there, is that it doesn't have the ability to search a database. But where its strengths lie is that it plugs in well with Clay and it actually has quite a few good integrations. If we look here, it's got the ability to plug into Smart Lead, Instantly, Lemlist if you're using any of those, as well as CRMs like HubSpot, Pipedrive, Soho, CRM, Close, Salesforce. So it will be able to somewhat keep your CRM up to date. And what's new about it is that they've got the IntelliMatch, which basically allows you to describe a company and it will find companies like that, which is really good because when you look at Sales Navigator on LinkedIn or some of these other platforms, like Apollo, for example, is another one that I'm not actually going to look through, but it's one we use sometimes. It doesn't allow you to really ask, like if it, for example, learning management systems is one of our targets, and that is a hard target audience to find. It's not like got its own defined category on Sales Navigator. So this is something where you could find those types of companies, and there are other tools that I'll look into. We don't necessarily use this. This is a new feature, but I thought it would be worthwhile thing. And then it's got signals. Again, what signals in this case are is keyword mentions, new hires, job title changes, topic engagement, company hiring. And the way this is set up is more for account-based marketing. So if there's a set of accounts, let's say 100 companies that you just want to monitor consistently, this is what you'd use the tool for. So you'd use it for something like topic engagement. Let's say you've got a competitor and you'd go into monitoring a profile, looking at tracking their reactions and their comments, and then using audience filters to find out of those comments and those reactions of the post the target audience that you want to go out in front of. So you can set that out, you can push that into your CRM, and that will give you something that will automatically surface some, potential prospects that are, already looking at other solutions in the marketplace that are similar to yours, so maybe worthwhile reaching out. Next is LeadMagic. I feel like this is a bit of an underdog. I don't feel as many people know about LeadMagic, and I've been onto them for a while, and they've gone through a few renditions of their tool. And what I see new of them is this chat feature, which looks pretty cool, which is basically finding the right buyer with evidence. So you can look at lookalike accounts, hiring demand, buying committee, or just build out your full GTM list. So I think this is again the trend that I'm seeing across a lot of these data providers is the ability to use natural language to create prospect lists for you and your team. So it's making it easier for your sales reps to just jump right in, ask what it needs or what they need of it, and then it will do the hard work of scraping or looking at the different data sets and compiling it together in a way that makes sense for you and your team to go out. Again, something I haven't tested. This is more something that we use as a secondary enrichment to our, prospect list enrichment waterfall that we use. What I like about them is I think I use them as like when we're sometimes using Claude Code and the API calls, it's really good because we plug into Find Email and LeadMagic, and they'll be able to surface different insights that we're looking for. And depending on the insights, like for example, this one has job change detector or local lead finder, we can use it to find this information. One of the things that is really useful to do is to just essentially look at the API. A lot of these have, and then I don't want to dox my API actually, just in case it shows. But you can actually use it to just look at the docs and the documentation and see what its best practice is for. And a lot of these are already available. You don't have to buy the actual tool, and that will give you a sense of what is right for you if you are using APIs. But what I would say is that these two are more for the seasoned reps out there, the people that are going to be plugging this tool into a stack of tools and using it to enrich some of that data, the data points that would otherwise go missed. I guess where LeadMagic doesn't have as much integration as Find Email is on the kind of CRMs and the different types of sequences. I mean, Smart Lead and Instantly are the big two, so that's not a problem, but they don't have HubSpot or any of the other CRMs. That might be useful for some like you, depending on the company. Moving on. So this one's interesting. Prospeo is probably the one that I would recommend for you're just going in and you don't have a massive technical team behind you or proficiency there. This is your kind of merge between your traditional just database like a Zoom Info or Apollo, but it does overlay some AI capabilities that just make it a nice UI. So the last two don't really have this UI where you can search the database and you can look for people, you can look for job titles and search by departments and all of this great stuff. So if you are just looking to pull a data list or a list of prospects, then I think Prospeo is a solid bet. What they've released recently that I find really interesting that we'll be testing more, because I think this has just been released in the last 2 weeks or so, is the ability to look at all of this interesting stuff. So you can look at business model types, so what type of business model are they? Keyword search is another one that they've introduced. Headcount by location, job postings, so what they're hiring for. I saw some other ones like operating languages, hiring patterns is coming in, products and services. Where did I? These ones are interesting. CEO departed, appointed, all of this stuff. That might be useful for you because these are big changes in the organization. So typically that means things are changing and you might want to be on top of that. So this is again the one that I would recommend if you don't necessarily have a massive team. It does have a good API integration. And what's good about this API integration is that you can build a total addressable market. So this is what I would be looking at Prospeo for alongside what I'll introduce next, which is DiscoLike. So sometimes what you want to do is before anything else is just map your total addressable market, and Prospeo doesn't charge you for each individual company. It charges you for every 25. So you get one credit and you'll be able to get 25 companies from their API, which is awesome when it comes to just mapping a marketplace. Let's say you want to go out to every single organization in the learning sector, then you've got that capability to do that. Where DiscoLike comes in and something we've been trying out is again on that total addressable market mapping. And what they use is they're just heavy on lookalikes and optimizing for just what the company itself describes itself as on the website. And this is really good when you're just trying to increase the amount of companies that you're looking for. So a lot of the traditional providers like ZoomInfo or Apollo will miss this because they're typically looking from the LinkedIn pool of like audience. So that a lot of these companies will look at LinkedIn because that's where the most up-to-date information is, but they'll miss out on companies that will update their Google Maps or their website and they're not necessarily big on LinkedIn. They don't need to be, right? So MSP providers, for example, are going to be looking at this because they're probably looking at small to medium sized businesses, and not all of them will have a massive LinkedIn footprint because they don't need to do. So this is where this one's really useful. And again, it's got a good API. And what you're looking at here is just looking at like plugging in a few domains that of a company that you already have. And then it will then surface. So if we do inonda.co.uk, which is my website, inonda.co.uk, if we do that website and then you submit, then it's going to look at companies that look like mine, and then you can click yes and kind of build out a bit of an audience landscape, and then it will go out and find all the companies that look like that. You can also look at the tech stacks that a specific company are looking for, and this is where this is quite powerful. So if you're looking at maybe a tool and you feel, or if you've got the problem of like, hey, I want to map out more of my audience, I feel like I'm missing some companies, DiscoLike's probably the one that you're going to want to look at. If you're looking at, hey, I just need a decent tool that's going to allow me to segment lists, build a bit of a TAM, also build prospect lists from our sales team, then I'd say Prospeo. If you're looking at it just like, hey, I need more enrichment from the lists that we do pull, then LeadMagic and Find Email are probably the ones that I would lean towards in that sense. And it really depends on each individual use case. And that's kind of what we do is we look at a company and we look at what they're looking for, and we work backwards from situations where they've actually won deals, and what was the situation of that company 3, 6, 12 months prior. Because when you've got that information, then you can start creating your, let's say, competitive moats that these types of providers won't necessarily be able to cater for, and you can start building out your kind of custom signal infrastructure alongside, hey, what is it that we need to go out to this marketplace to start educating them with? And that's kind of what we do. So if you want to learn a bit more about how that specifically applies to your business, then reach out to us in onda.co.uk, and we'll be happy to just kind of understand a bit more the lay of the land and look at a kind of bespoke action plan for your business and take you through some of the inside looks at how we've been able to capture the attention of some big known brands in the space and then convert that into actual pipeline. So reach out, and any questions, just let me know below.